Hey, everybody.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Rebecca. So I am Dave Smith, and you are.
Rebecca Wedeman.
And who are you with, Rebecca?
And I'm Patrick.
Hey, Patrick. He's not saying hi to me. Oh, he's
He's
Pat's
got
having
the,
fun
he's
right
got the licks today. He's full of licks.
now. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. It's been a busy month, huh? July's been busy.
Didn't July used to be a lull? Am I
There
wrong?
used
If
there
July
used
used
to
to
be a
be
summer
a lull?
lull, but I'm thinking, is it like what since like a year or two ago? Obviously post pandemic, summer travel has picked up a little bit, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've been where this month alone, I think I've done like at least three events. I know I've done Zoom, a bunch of different events. It's been
Wow.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of stuff going on, and a lot of announcements too. We have a lot to kind of unpack today, even from the past week.
Yes, yesterday, and it didn't.
Well, I
Right.
guess yes. Yesterday
It's
was
like whiplash, right? Yeah,
Monday.
right.
Oh, I know. And I think, it's interesting as we get kind of into the earnings call time of year again, right?
Yes.
There was now in Google last week and Microsoft this week. A lot of AI fueled numbers last week. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Microsoft today if they have more to say about Copilot adoption, which has been, a bit of a challenge for them.
It has been a challenge, and I'm wondering if the challenge anything to do this with the name now. As we're moving towards this agentic AI era. Is the name Copilot a little bit like yesterday's news? Right? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. And the language and the way we talk about AI really matters,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And you wonder if people talking more about augmenting and assisting versus co-piloting as being a little bit more maybe threatening,
Exactly.
or seen as
Exactly.
not as much
No, you're right because
as
right.
an
Yeah,
agent,
because
right?
when I think of Copilot, right, I look back to when we are talking about automation, right, and now with agentic AI, we're talking about autonomy, which right, it was a whole different sort of our framework.
And if I think about too, like every movie I've seen about airplanes, really all the co-pilot does is drink coffee, right? He doesn't actually really do anything.
They don't do anything. Yes, indeed.
Well, no, I mean,
What
I
is?
think I think it'll be I think it'll be interesting to see what Microsoft has to say. I also think it'll be really interesting to see what they have to say. They've gotten some blowback on the layoff announcement, right? And
Yes,
and
yes.
the most recent one maybe handled a little bit better than previous ones, but
Yeah.
it's hard to, in one breath, talk about how you need to lay off a significant number of employees
Mm-hmm.
and at the other end to be talking about record numbers in terms of growth and profitability.
Exactly. And then, and then to within that growth and profitability, talk about AI and Copilot and the whole fear of AI taking over jobs and hey, you're laying off people. So it's a lot of conflicting messaging, right?
No, I
Exactly.
mean, it's tough for everybody to navigate right now, right? Because I have to think about how am I building out my workforce to really be what the future of my business looks like. But a lot of
Exactly.
organizations don't necessarily know what that is yet.
Exactly. Exactly. So let's talk about the news. What's going on?
Well, on that bright note, in other news this week, where do you want to start, Dave?
Earlier in the month, right? We were
Yeah,
all on this Zoho call, right?
right.
And
Oh yeah.
Zoho announced, and the other Z company, not Zoom but Zoho, announced that they're launching their own large language model, ZiaLLM,
Yeah.
which
Which is which
yeah, go ahead.
is very different from what they were talking about 6 months or a year ago.
Yeah, because I was under the impression that they weren't trying to go down the path of their own large language model. They were going to be sort of like hey, we can you can bring your own model sort of thing. So
Yeah.
I didn't see them as sort of doing their own thing. But now knowing Zoho, it makes sense because the one thing about Zoho is they're about building. Right, they want to build their own stuff. Right, they have their own unified platform with Zoho One and so forth. So they're all about building their own stuff, and
Yeah.
so it actually makes sense when you sort of step back and think about it.
Well, it's interesting there because I think we can remember 18 or 24 months ago, everybody was talking about building their own LLM,
Yeah.
right? Everybody but Zoho. And
Exactly.
now they've sort of changed course where you have most folks saying, no, the the LLM is going to be a commodity. We're going to
Hmm.
focus on the platform around it, the agentic
Exactly.
capabilities, that sort of thing. But
Yeah, yeah,
I
and
think
to me,
Zoho has sort of emerged from the initial experience with LLMs very, very differently to say
hmm
they may be a commodity, but they're also the area where privacy and security are most at risk.
and
And they're
that's where
also the area
yeah,
where the cost variability is going to be the most important moving forward, right?
yeah,
So building
exactly.
your own, Zoho takes out concerns about data privacy and security, right? Because the data
Indeed,
isn't going
indeed,
anywhere but Zoho.
exactly.
But it also enables them to control the cost of actually delivering AI to their customers, right?
Indeed. Yeah,
Because they're not paying Cohere or whoever else for an API call to actually
exactly.
use the LM.
That's a
So
good
in
point.
terms of the overall kind of economics over time, I think you're right. I think it fits perfectly with Zoho's model of building their own, but also of being able to pass that savings on to customers and pass
Hmm.
perhaps even more importantly, that sort of price predictability on
Indeed.
customers as well.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's a quiet sort of calculated play, and in Zoho speak for that sort of strategic control, right? So, they're building the model from scratch. It's not to win like GPU bragging rights, right? But sort of give businesses sort of that speed, as you're alluding to, privacy and trust, right? So I'm thinking they're probably looking at probably targeting that CEO, that CIO, that's sort of wary of sending proprietary data into a third party AI black box, right? So Zoe sort of built that answer for them a little bit, right?
Yeah.
And and then sort of I think the story behind the story, especially with the MCP server, is now they're sort of building this sort of connective tissue designed to orchestrate work across the entire tech stack. So it's from Zoho to Salesforce to Slack, right? It's sort of like this patient, organic, full stack vision for their future of agentic AI, so to speak.
So speaking of orchestration,
Mm-hmm.
another interesting announcement this week. Do you want to kick it off or should I?
Oh, go for it. Go for it.
So nice acquisition.
Mm-hmm.
So really bringing it some chops in terms of agentic AI.
Yeah, so they're nice, and they're acquiring
Cognigy.
Cognigy. And can I take a brief second? Are these evaluations getting a little out of control, Rebecca? It's like $1 billion valuation. Like some of these valuations are kind of getting crazy, I think, with some of these companies. But anyway, side note, back to Nice and Cognigy.
Well, I mean, I think for nice, yes, it's a big chunk of change, but it also buys it
Yeah.
a real story in AI, a real story in agentic, a real customer base in agentic.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 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 yes. Exactly. So
Um,
right.
but I think it highlights the importance of to what you were saying before, the MCP and the whoever owns all the channels,
Mm-hmm.
right, and owns the orchestration is ultimately going to get to decide like which LLM gets called, for example, which economically
Exactly.
is going to be hugely important moving forward. So I
Exactly.
think, well, we've seen other folks sort of try to move into the contact center space to own the voice channel.
Mm-hmm.
Nice sort of going in the other direction.
The app, you're right, right, and so yeah, it's a pure power move, right? So right, so it's almost like they're buying their way a little bit to the front of the line and their AI roadmap. So not sure how much leeway this gives them. I don't know if it's 12 to 18 months. It's hard to tell with AI because things move so
Yeah.
quickly. But yeah, this isn't about some sort of better chatbot. It's this sort of aggressive pivot, to AI first or
Mhm.
AI led, right? Autonomous agents that sort of manage that whole entire customer journey. So, it's high speed, high stakes, and they're betting on the integration of a best of breed to win the market. So, I'm wondering too if Zoll's building, then you have Nice buying, right? So, Zoll's building towards the future, Nice here is
Mhm.
buying towards the future. So, that's sort of interesting contrast, I think, in terms of both announcements.
Mhm. And then ServiceNow, of course, announcing its new sort of agentic workforce layer to manage agents and workers working together too. I thought was really, really interesting because, of course, they're trying to get in on the whole orchestration play as well.
Yeah. Oh, please, yes, please share that announcement. Yeah, that was the one. That was another one that I had missed a little bit. Yeah, please
Yeah, so
inform us.
so it was really just it was when they announced earnings, I think last week they talked about a new I'm going to get the name wrong, but agentic workforce management. The idea being um, really taking the sort of control tower platform
Mm-hmm.
capabilities conceptually to the next level, where it's helping humans build, train, manage, and optimize agentic
Got
autonomous
it.
agents
Yeah.
over
Got
time.
it. Got it. Got it.
Everybody's getting in the orchestration game.
No, and it's true. And so so if you look back to Zoho, sort of what building, right? Nice for the acquisition they're buying. It's looked like the I guess the service now remaining now is sort of like, okay, how do you sort of manage that day two problem, right? How do you sort of manage the present, right? After you bought the stuff, how do you manage it right now?
Yeah, so you mentioned the ServiceNow Rimini, the Rimini Explorer pack. So another interesting announcement, right? Where what Rimini has seen, I think, and I had Dave on the show 2 weeks ago, a couple
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago. Um, Customers saying, I really want to be able to automate things. I can't do it effectively with my existing ERP.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to understand how to layer ServiceNow on top of it, like Built with German's talking about, to be able
Yeah.
to automate and ultimately apply AI to, right?
Exactly.
But I don't necessarily know sort of where to get started.
Yeah.
ServiceNow and Rimini come in with the Explorer pack, which says it's a fixed fee engagement. We build out a business case for you. We give you one workflow to build, pilot, try, assess for 90 days. You can
Mm-hmm.
actually see how this stuff works, how it performs in your own environment, whether or
Mm-hmm.
not it delivers value. A great way to kind of de risk
Yeah.
experimentation with the ServiceNow layer on top of SAP. And I think they're going to do it for other ERPs as well moving
That makes
forward. And
sense.
SAP is the obvious choice,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
Don't, yes, it's great to have a sort of service partner relationship, but having a kind of
Mm-hmm.
key offering that's very clear from a budgetary perspective and a time perspective, what it's going to look like, it's got to be really attractive for customers.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess for any org with like a sprawling, heavily customized service now instance, this is about getting, I guess, a handle on that complexity for the most part.
So, or somebody that says, I really want to be able to do something with AI, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
on SAP ECC, right?
Yeah.
Layer service now on top of it, experiment and understand how the platform works if you're not using it already, right?
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess
You're a Rimini customer, so Rimini already knows what your SAP instance looks like. So they're in a
mhm.
great position to be able to help you identify where you can automate and where you can deliver value, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. That makes sense. Yeah. So yeah, it's using AI, I guess, for not so much like the customer face stuff, but for those deep, operational intelligence to optimize sort of the complex system that you already have in house.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're talking about like supply chain and finance use cases,
Mm-hmm.
some on the customer service side, but more on the side where, I've got SAP data that's really critical for my business, but I don't necessarily have a good way to automate workflows around it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Big announcements, man. What's going on?
I know. So we've talked about Microsoft, Nice,
Yeah.
ServiceNow,
ServiceNow. Yeah.
Zoho.
And like I was saying before, right? So I think how I was sort of reading through these things is like, so again, you have Zoho, who's all about sort of building, hey, we're gonna build our own, right? We're gonna build towards the future. You have, I guess, the Nice and Cognigy acquisition, which sort of like,
Mhm.
let's buy our way to it. Let's jump the line a little bit, right? And then like the sort of the service now with the remaining street stuff is, to me, it's something about, okay, how do we manage sort of like the legacy of the present, right now, right? And so it's sort of like three almost distinct types of visions for the future. or ways to get there, so to speak.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because they're all about how do I build this out in a way that's more predictable for the customer?
Mm, indeed, indeed,
How do I make
exactly.
people feel less worried about FOMO, fear of messing up, when it comes to
Yes.
AI and having
Say that
somebody
again.
who really
Please say it again.
has the
I love
knowledge
that
and the
term. I
chops
love
to
that
do
term.
this? Huh?
I love that term. Say it again.
FOMO, fear of messing up.
I love it.
Yeah, but I mean,
Absolutely.
I think we're going to hear more and more about that, particularly as we kind of get into fall conference season and people come up with, here's the next generation of what we're talking about for agentic.
Yes,
Or
yes, yes.
the orchestration piece being really important because ultimately, with the exception of Zoho
Hmm.
and a few others, whoever owns the orchestration is ultimately going to be making the decision. If we take the contact center, for example, where I may have
Hmm.
agentic within the contact center and within CRM, like who decides
Yeah,
which platform gets called for common channels, common
indeed.
asks, which LLM gets called? Whoever gets to call those shots ultimately has a pretty big seat at the table in terms of looking at what the overall revenue picture, both
Hmm.
for the LLM folks and for the platform folks and app folks, looks like moving forward.
Exactly. So is that strategic control from a platform perspective is is important. And then I think in the Zoho case is like, how then do they attract the ecosystem to build around, right? That's going to be, I think, their big challenge. How do they attract the ecosystem and attract developers? I mean, you have the Microsofts, the Googles, who, like they have like developer inertia, right? Moving towards them, that gravitational pull. How does Zoho get that gravitational pull towards their platform is going to be, I think, a key to their
Yeah,
success with this.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So what's up next for you, Dave?
Yeah, so this month. So speaking of, there's a lot of in between stuff, right? So I was at this Zoom, the other Z company event, this month called it's their analyst event called Zoom Perspective. So like literally everything was NDA, so I can't like say anything. But what I can say
You can't
is,
say you were there. Oh, you told us you were
yeah,
there.
yeah, 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 yeah. I was there. I promise I was there, right? But what I can say is obviously, right? AI, AI, AI. Their roadmap is AI led, and again, everyone's using the term AI first. I was on a call. Was it yesterday or a few days ago? I'm sorry, I think it was last week, Friday, with Cisco as well. And huge device, hardware centric company, but again, trying to marry the hardware and software in their roadmap, right? But huge device, huge hardware, and again, in their sort of roadmap, term AI first kept coming up. And so in my all my vendor, talks this month and just the past, few months, everyone's talking AI first. So even go to Salesforce and everyone is saying AI first, right? And what does AI first actually mean, right? And how should enterprise or organizations, when they're evaluating these different vendors, how should they take or judge what AI first actually is? Because everyone's using it almost as a marketing term right now.
Well, I think the other thing too is, there are an awful lot of great things that I can do with declarative workflows
Mm-hmm.
that are cheaper and in some cases more effective than AI,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So with the push to AI wash things, I think we got to keep remembering, keep our eyes on the prize, which is what's the best, most effective, and most cost effective way to get the business outcome I'm looking for.
And I think that's a perfect point. It's like, what kind of outcomes are you trying to drive? So, so to your point, right? If you have certain sort of rule based workflows, and especially if you're in a regulated industry, those are important, right? Those are key, right? Financial services, healthcare, those regulate, those sort of defined rules based workflows are key, right? But I
Yeah.
think when you begin to talk about this whole AI first thing and using it as a market thing, it's okay. What kind of outcomes are you trying to drive? So if it's an autonomous outcome, right, then obviously there's an agentic test to that, right? And so that I guess goes to like the nice Cognigy vision, or orchestrated multi-step workflow like the Zoho vision, right? So so it's like you have to figure out what kind of outcome you're trying to drive.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're going to see ultimately, yes, the technology is very important.
Hmm.
So is the thought leadership around helping customers understand where you're going to get value. How can you have more of these efforts become more self-funding efforts?
Hmm.
Like Ramini is talking about with the ServiceNow Explorer Pack, where it's
Yeah.
pick off one piece, show that you delivered value, and use the savings or the top line revenue from that to fund
Yeah.
more investment. It's that kind of thought leadership that's going to be really important in determining who the winners are in this. It's not going to be the big bang science projects or the people who have the perfect technical definitions for everything.
Exactly, and I think, and to your point, I think bring up the remaining stuff. I think another test too is go sort of navigate this AI first, things that an AI that only understands one application is not AI first, right? And so I think a true test of an AI first strategy requires that, as we're talking about with the Zoho stuff and MCP, like there's a connective tissue, right? That it can act across your business, multiple different workflows. Even I guess the Ramini announcement, right, understands by aiming to provide sort of this holistic view of a complex system. So it's how do you sort of move towards more of a unified platform, and it doesn't have to be from the same vendor, right? But how do you sort of move towards sort of a unified, flexible platform that's not just a disconnected co-pilot, if you will, right? But one that understands your applications across your entire ecosystem and workflows.
Right. Right. And one that enables your human agents, I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to still call them agents, to interact both with each other and with the AI in a way that delivers those business outcomes.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you brought this up earlier too, right? As you move towards this agentic, sort of era, and again this AI first thing, the trust test is going to be key, right? Because and even like with the remaining stuff, do you have sort of visibility and control over your data and the models, right? And so a vendor, I think, can't be AI first or truly AI first for the enterprise without being trust first. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because
Great
you
point.
can't.
Great point.
Yeah, because like you can't force people to sort of pipe, their sensitive data in some third party model that they can't control. Like that's is a major risk.
And you can't tell people that they have to trust you because you're smarter than they are. Right? There's got to be a
Exactly.
better reason than that.
Exactly. Exactly. Right. So so I guess from what we're saying is right. It's okay. How do you drive outcomes? Right. What's your integration story, and then what's your trust story? Right. In terms of being AI first, like, that's I guess the test of being AI first.
Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's a great place to leave it for today, Dave. What do you think?
I think so. This is a
What do you
great
think?
great conversation. A
You want to
lot
say goodbye,
happened this
Dave?
month.
Well, thanks for everyone for joining today. Next week on the Crunch, we'll have an interesting conversation with Rahul from Genesis. So hope to
Ooh,
see you guys
awesome.
then.
Well, so speaking of Genesis, that's interesting because I think one of the things that the NICE announcement does do, it does, I think, bring some competitive pressure, I think, on the Genesis of the world, the five nines, and maybe to some extent Salesforce. You think,
Well, a lot of those folks had partnerships now that are not going to be
Genesis
there.
partnership with Cognigy? I'm just saying they were a partner,
Yep.
indeed.
Tune in next week for the continuing saga.
Lots of drama, lots of drama.
Lots of things to talk about. Lots
We
of
need some
things to
soap
watch.
opera theme music, I guess, right? For those conversations. Then.
All right.
Rebecca, awesome. See you guys.
See you soon.
Bye bye.